What is going on, everybody? I'm RJ.
I'm Jay, Hero Harrison.
I'm Dr. J.
I'm Gerald. G saw that.
And welcome to the Silver Site. Today we're going to be breaking down Sinners, which is now, I was about to say streaming, which is now playing in theaters. This is a movie that we have been waiting on for forever. We always, say we need good black horror. First of all, we always say we need good black cinema, period. But especially in the horror department, we need good black horror. And when I tell you this is good black horror, this is good black horror. So Sinners is about two brothers who are trying to leave their troubled lives behind, and they return to their Mississippi hometown to start again, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting there to welcome them back. So, first of all, what did you guys think of Sinners? Overall thoughts?
Fantastic. That's all I gotta say.
10s across the board, like
Loved
10
it.
out of 10.
Loved
Yeah.
it. Loved it. Loved it.
Yeah,
Even the soundtrack, 10 out of
everything. It was an experience. I haven't felt this way about a film since I saw a black horror film since I went to go see The Blackening, and that's a couple of years. I'm so proud to be black after watching this movie. Like, this movie has made me proud to be black. I loved it. 10 out of 10.
I think Jay mentioned something as well as far as the music too. I think that was really important to just how everything flowed with how they did it. Everything was in sync, and the different sequences that we saw was just done just beautifully.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I want to say, like, before I went to go see the movie, like, what caught me was their marketing that they did on TikTok. Because I don't go to see as many movies as G does. He's the GOAT when it comes to going to see movies. But all of the previews I saw were originally on TikTok as I was scrolling through. And I'm like, oh, this is good. This looks real good. So that's what caught me. So I feel like their pre-marketing for the movie was amazing. Now, I don't know if I don't really watch, cable TV. I have it, but I don't really watch it. I don't know what their other marketing was like, but I couldn't scroll past like 5 TikTok videos without seeing like Sinners before I even realized it was Sinners, Ryan Coogler. Every time I scroll through, I'm like, oh, this is good. What is this?
Yeah, so, they had a pretty big TV push too.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty big.
They did.
I think they kept trying to. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying they did.
There's so many things as far as like how I feel like this is a great build up to everything. And I saw some complaints online and stuff, but people mentioned it was kind of slow in the beginning. But I really thought that that was the whole purpose of this, because I think that it really did a good job of trying to just slowly develop the story. And then we went into the story right after the first part. And that was a long day. So
yeah, it's funny you say that, Jay, because I thought that too. I think when the sun was going down and they were all dancing, and I'm like, damn, this whole story took place in one day. I don't know if I'd want to be a part of any of this. Take me out. Yeah. I don't want none of it.
So it was funny because when Jay, so yeah, I had reached out to Jay because I knew everybody hadn't seen it yet. So I was like, when he said he had saw it, I was like, well, I got to get it out because if I don't, I'm gonna go crazy. And so me and him talked, and I was like, bro, like that part tripped me out that I just thought about it, and we both said at the same time that it all happened in one day. And then he threw out a couple other things that I didn't think about, and I was like, man, but I guess it makes sense because I was a little bit leery about the first, probably that first. I don't know, first act, it kind of was a little bit like, it felt a little herky-jerky for a second because I think in trying to get to know the characters, there was a lot of things they had to kind of lay out there for us. And so I was a little worried at first, and then he was like, but the fact that it only happened in one night, you have to understand, like, they got to give you that information or you're going to have a 3-4 hour movie,
And that's a good point too. And I also think that when you think of how many bases as far as genres this movie covered, you got horror, you got suspense. There was a little bit of coming of age. There was drama. There was romance. So there was a lot that they had to build on in that kind of lore, magic. history. They had so much they had to build on. So naturally, the first part was going to be a little, slower paced. But I think they did a good job of making sure that when things picked up, they picked up. There was no question about what was going on when stuff started popping off. So
I feel like we definitely have to give Michael B. Jordan the credit, though, to play two characters and to make them so different.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like every actor can't do that. And I mean, I guess the magic sauce is Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan because they've done so many movies together. But I'm like,
Dream
I
Team.
feel, yeah,
Dream Team.
yeah. I feel
They
like
try to steal my
Yeah.
shine. Dream Team. So,
I feel like when I was thinking about it, I'm like, could anybody have done this better than Michael B. Jordan? I was like, no, he was perfect. And then even like, I love how you could see their relationship, even with Smoke being the oldest, and just seeing how their relationship plays out in the movie. I'm like, it was just perfect. Like, I feel like it would have been so easy to kind of like mesh them together because of the same character, but you could tell the range of his acting to be able to play two different characters on the same screen, and it's like we're getting two different versions. So,
yeah. Oh yes, Timo. There are spoilers ahead, so if you haven't seen it, it's okay. If you haven't seen it, just go ahead and pause the video, and when you have seen it, come on back and join us. But yes, we are going to be getting spoilers only because we've been talking about this movie in our group chat for a minute.
yeah.
right.
We've been doing this for a minute. Yeah.
So honestly, I do want to give a shout out to the women in this movie too, because man, I really feel like Wunmi Masaku did really well in portraying just like.
gosh. Yeah.
I really like how that Ryan Coogler didn't really make them caricatures. I feel like it wasn't really focused on that. I really feel like it was story based in the realistic setting that felt natural. It didn't feel like off or anything like that. So I really want to give a shout out to all the women too in this movie because I think they just played their part really well without making it look like the stereotypical, a little too much like that little extra kind of like Tyler Perry oomph to it. Like we don't need that. Like not space movies are all bad.
I like that.
He's basically saying the wigs were on point, unlike the acting was on point. It had a layer.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned that, Dr. J, the freaking wardrobe, costume. Oh my,
yeah, they were on point, man.
What?
Hair designs, clothing, everything was on point.
They used every ounce of that budget. Like, they used every ounce, but I feel like it was worth it because, like RJ, like you said, it gave us kind of like a love story. I like all the dimensions that it gave us because. Crazy enough, I'm ready for like part 2, but I know that's not coming next week. I know it's not coming. If it does come, that is. But I feel like even though they gave us so much in part 1, well, I'm calling it part 1, wishfully speaking.
Manifest.
Exactly. Even
Maybe
though they
a series, who knows?
Yeah.
Listen, if Ryan Coogler made a series, it would probably be whatever streaming platform gets it. Okay.
From there.
Yeah. Well, I know we'll get to it later, but
to make up for Lovecraft Country.
People, okay, so did you see the comments about people saying that they felt like Sinners was the missing season of Lovecraft Country? People kept saying
that's
that.
A reach, but that's a reach.
Yeah, people kept saying
the
that.
vibe.
Like, okay.
Yeah, but that's too much of a reach, though.
No, I do agree with Gerald on that one because I don't think this is its own thing. And I think that it needs to stay in its own lane because there's different types of black cinema, and that's you can compare some moments to the TV from movie, translate that over, but I still feel like this is its own thing. It was really just designed in a unique way. So
but I also get what they're saying though. The tone of it fits perfectly into Lovecraft Country's vibe. Not necessarily like this is in the same universe, but it feels like if Lovecraft Country was anthology, which I believe it was going to be anthology, I feel like this would be like perfect for like the next story that we're going to tell.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think if you were to like take that concept and throw it into something like that, I think it would make sense. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. I just thank God they didn't use the same actor from Lovecraft Country. He couldn't have done it for me.
Oh, Majors.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, no.
There's no way he could have pulled that off.
No.
No.
And
no, I've seen a couple people try to say, oh, he could have been in it in maybe a different capacity.
An extra, maybe.
Yeah, just as in a different capacity, but not as the main.
Yeah.
There's no way. And I'm like, I'm not trying to talk about his talent or what he can do. I just think that role wouldn't have been for him. Like, again, I don't know any other actor.
Y'all know that man loved dressing in 1920. he probably already had something in the closet.
Like, let me dust these mothballs off and put this on.
Yeah,
it'll fit perfect.
You know that man loved a good brown suit.
He had his suit, his suspenders, everything, just waiting for the call.
Loafers all shined up and everything.
Banjo. Like, I'm on banjo.
I feel like if he was,
that is so banjo.
I feel like if he was in that movie, he could play the banjo or something like that, or just be like Jay said, an extra to add in like another element to be at that party or something. That'd be fun.
He could just be in the back as an Easter egg. We watching like, oh, there go what's his name next?
There goes John Majors with his own clothes on.
Come as you are.
No, okay, but I do want to talk about the cast. The casting just all around phenomenal. Top to bottom, everybody was believable. Everybody was locked in. 10 out of 10 Black cinema. This is what I'm talking about. And I'll even say this, and there's no disrespect to Tyler Perry, but this is what I talk about when I say, like, we have so many talented Black actors and actresses out here. And that's not to say the people that are in Tyler Perry's programs are not talented, because they are, but you can only do so much with the material that you're given and the dialogue and the script. And so this to me, like, I'm so proud of this film, even though I had nothing to do with it, even though I feel like it was made specifically for my enjoyment. I'm proud of this film because, like, just the way everybody showed up and showed out. The woman who played Pearline, I have never been so hypnotized before. I see why he was ready to even though that woman was walking in a hot Mississippi sun. He didn't blink. He ain't blink. She said, let me freshen up. He said, for what?
And I want to give Ryan Coogler a shout out for that, for, appreciating just the culture, especially of women and, Black people. Is like, yeah, we got to freshen up and stuff, before we just do activities.
He was Tang.
I've seen some hilarious little skits when it just says that one part in Sinners, and then they do the whole looking up into the camera. So I was like, I see what you did there. I see what you did. But it was hilarious because but it was even funnier because how the callback like really just popped back up pretty, fairly quick, in the movie because, on which was funny because that's part of the, the build up in that first act where I was kind of like, but I was like, okay, I see. Yeah. You made me remember real quick what happened there. So the second watch, I definitely was very locked into a lot of things that I kind of speed bumped over the first time. But I definitely enjoyed how, their chemistry was just crazy even from the jump. Like, I thought, oh, she's got to be, a problem later. Because, just the way he was when he was first playing and that she kept looking at him, I was like, oh no, she's going to be a problem for him. So
my thing is, man, where's your husband? Like, where's your man?
Yeah, he probably working.
I was wondering that too.
He's probably working.
That man over there in the field, and she over here in some man's face.
I thought that was hilarious. So
stop her from finding her soulmate. Joking.
What they say is always a little truth in every joke. Say that. But the funny thing about that was I thought it was a very interesting line to say, basically like, young man, blah blah blah. Oh, by the way, I do have a husband, So I thought that was just an interesting way to introduce yourself to somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, what was the point of telling him though if she wasn't going to abide by it? Like, you
I
couldn't
think
tell.
it was. Yeah, I think the idea was trying to throw it out there for him to, exclude himself from that. Because that's why as soon as he came back, well, are you faithful? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you telling me all this. However, here's my comeback to you. Because what do hit you with Dr. J at the gas station? I mean, you can't have friends. Little stuff like that. So it just be like little slick stuff that people try to throw out there just to see what the response is going to be.
Or imitates life.
Yeah,
right.
And that's what that was. Because she definitely ain't stop him, and he ain't want to be stopped. So
facts.
They went for it. But everything in this movie to me, I don't know, it just felt so cultural. It felt so real. So I want to take a second to talk about probably my favorite scene in the movie. I know Jay had brought it up earlier. The music transition, and it showed how everything is derived from Black people's music. And I even got into an argument with somebody one time about like trap gospel, and they were saying how like you're not supposed to bring the world into church. What do you think Aretha Franklin was saying? She was singing gospel that was a derivative of rock and roll. Like people don't understand that. Now, like I said, I know my gospel music because I grew up, in the church glory, and so I feel like I just don't think that like it just showed how like music has evolved. Everything has evolved from Black people, and I love the line where they said they love the blues, they just don't love who sings it. Chef's kiss poetry.
I love that. I think it's one of the best lines in the movie.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of morphed it into a step further. We say they love our rhythm, but they hate our blues.
Yeah,
like to not have to go through the things we go through to get to that stage. To be able to write those songs and do those things, which they still do it because even in country, it's my dog got shot, my wife left me, blah blah blah. They do the same thing.
Yeah,
they do the same thing. It's just they just do it in a different, almost in a different lingo. So just understanding that piece was like for me, like it was. I mean, I've seen it. I said it myself, and it's just chef's kiss the way they were able to. Like he was this dude, man. One thing I can say about Coogler is he has a way of taking certain scenes in movies and just creating this just art piece.
Yeah. He shoots it.
Yeah, we're like remember Jay, I had told you about the scene in Creed. When the crowd disappears and it's just Majors and Michael in the ring. Like he took that scene and turned it into its own like piece of art, just that scene. So going back to that, it was still a 360 shot, which it was brilliantly edited to almost look like a one shot.
Yeah.
And then how you would get each. I think it was about, and it is just my best guess because I'm sure I missed something, but it felt like about 14 different transitions during that shot. It could have been more, and it might have been a little less, but I know I got up to at least 11 that I could visually see because, of course, people stayed in the shot later as the camera panned out. Because I don't know if you noticed, they started in tight on Sammy, and then as they backed up, then you see the first the Jimi Hendrix type, the futuristic guy pop up, and then as they kept expanding the camera, as they started to turn, then you would see each other element pop in there.
To be honest, that futuristic guy scared the crap out of me. I don't know why, but when he popped up, I jumped. Like I got so scared. I don't know what happened.
Well, that riff did it for me. I was like, "Oh, okay, something's different. Some difference happened."
Did you see it in IMAX? Because I got
definitely. Yes,
according to Jay's iPhone, I got
IMAX was
ticket.
Man. That's the thing too. I think that's what the difference is that like you have to see this movie in IMAX because it's really an experience. I mean. You can go see it in a regular theater. That's fine. I mean, and when I mean regular, I mean one that's kind of like toned down with bass and like the sound. Yeah, the system because like you really have to like feel that movie. So, and this movie made you feel something.
But then they only release it in certain theaters on IMAX because not everywhere has an IMAX option available, which is honestly criminal, because I'm thinking about the small change in the Hunger Games Catching Fire, where it went from like the 2 black lines to like the full screen, and how dynamic it made, and how open it made the arena feel. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little salty, I'm a little bitter, because I missed out on the full like Ryan Coogler cinematic, cinematography. Like I missed out on all of it because I went to go see it. I got a standard poor people ticket that we didn't have IMAX.
Now he did when he was on the press junket, he did say that yes, they did shoot it specifically for IMAX, but they had different aspect ratios that they worked with to make sure that they could optimize it for the best, experience he could offer. Because I will say, I did see it in digital the next day. The only difference that I felt like the dialogue was a little bit clearer in digital. As opposed to IMAX. With IMAX, it picked up on every little sound, and I felt like I was missing. I heard the word "haints" very clear in digital. I couldn't tell what she was saying in IMAX.
I didn't know what she was saying, and because I went to the standard, I didn't know what she was saying at all. Like I thought I was having a stroke. I was so scared. I didn't understand.
And I don't know if I was so excited watching it that I just was having a hard time staying focused.
Yeah.
But I could not hear it at all initially. I was like, what is she saying? Like, I couldn't get it. But then as soon as I heard it in digital, I was like, oh, haints. It's an H,
And I have to look that up because I'm not familiar. Y'all know all of magic, mythology, and all things.
It's basically, she was from like Louisiana and all that stuff. So it's like a ghost or like an entity. And so she was basically trying to, I thought that was neat how they did that with her character, because she was the exposition for the audience when it came to telling you that. Now, because I know I'm gonna forget this, I'm gonna tell you the part that was really, really outstanding to me is when what was dude's name? My man that was drinking. Golly.
Delta Slim.
Delta Slim. There we go. When he was telling the story, and you could hear it.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We talked
about that.
Yeah. So that scene, because Gerald and I talked about that too. I really feel like that was unique because you don't always have to show everything. I think this is a movie that kind of had a certain tone for things. So it's like he's pushing the story while also it's like just giving us a quick flashback. But it's like you really had to listen because you could tell, you could feel just like the eeriness in that whole story that was being told. I feel like, and you knew what was going on. So I think that was a really just like, I want to say it's like it was in a way where music is like, synced into it, but it really felt like it was like just so put together, like as far as how it just flowed into each other.
It was really threaded into the way he told the story, and it kind of gave you an extra layer of like understanding and I think that is such a unique way to tell a story that has already transpired, other than doing a basic flashback, because it could have very well faded in to like a quick flashback, or even it'd be black and white and telling the story what happened in the past. But I think it's such an interesting, unique and new way to kind of tell a story within a story. And I want to see more things like this from, cinema. This is why I said, like, give like Black directors a chance. There's so much creativity locked away in Black people that we'll never get to see because we're still relying on these same directors and these same studio deals, but I'm just, but we know.
But that story was neat because how it happened, almost right after he gave a shout out to his boys that was on the little ditch digging crew, right after the fired off the shots, and then he was like, hey, did you know anybody that? He's like, all of them. He's like, oh. And so when he breaks down the story, as he's breaking down the story, but here's the I'm telling you, man, Ryan Coogler, they need to give him the keys to the car when he do his stuff. Kevin Feige, sir, you need to give the dude the keys and let him do what he does. Because even with that story, it was foreshadowing what was actually happening. Because remember when dude said he took all his money and because now, of course, Delta Slim said he drank all his. Yeah. But when he said his boy took his money and he was gonna go and do his thing. They made up the story about him robbing somebody, and then took his money, and then lynched him. So he was basically like, bro, they'll look like they're gonna give you a shot, but at the end of it all, not quite. They say you gotta be quicker than that, And so that's kind of how it played out. So for me, I was like, wow, I was connecting so many dots. I just felt like we, the way he told the story, the way, the acting and everything kind of played out in each thing, it all connects. That's why it's really that first part of the movie was way more important than people, I think, were giving it credit for.
Absolutely. A Addison 88. I would definitely watch a new Blade with Ryan Coogler behind it. At this point, give that man the green light.
Just give it.
He really knows what he's doing. Just let the man go. And I also feel like Black stories should be told by Black directors. It just makes it a lot easier and a lot more relatable for the audience.
Yeah, because again, it's I think there's still a pattern of certain actors playing certain roles that people just don't like. But I think that it's easier when the culture where it comes from is attached to the project, because some people just may not understand the criteria. And I feel like it does, like you said, go easier on people, because it also opens up doors for other actors to perform very well in these films too, because we see like so many parts in this movie that, like, one of my favorite parts was Gerald and I talked about this was when they were hunting the vampire.
Right.
The natives.
A lot of people want that. A lot of people want that.
That's one of the best parts.
Yes.
That would be a great series.
Yeah.
That would be a great series.
And I feel like that part shows that, okay, you already have this land belongs to the natives, obviously.
Correct.
So, and what they showed in that part is how somebody, that's people on this land obviously have been here for a very long time. So they would be the ones to know something about spirits and evilness roaming across their land.
Know.
Or just showing up.
Or just showing up. So when he was like, hey, if you want to let him in, just, all right, I'm gone. We gone. We're not going to do this, because that person that you invited in your house, which you shouldn't have, is not the person that you think.
That man said, it's getting dark. Let's go.
Right. He said, hey, bro said, hey, man.
Sun going down.
Like, okay.
He's like, all right, thank you for your time. We got not Carl pulled off. But another thing I like about the whole native thing too, not just the natives, one thing I love about Black directors is just, when we do things, we tend to do our research a lot more because we understand what it's like to be a marginalized community. And so in this, Ryan Coogler really did a good job of, and of course, there was a certain demographic of people who called it woke by having Asians and, indigenous individuals in there. It's like
short-sighted, very short-sighted.
And it just shows they didn't, rather than doing their research and seeing why did Ryan Coogler place these people in the film, they automatically just, went, people of color, Black people, and just like were foaming at the mouth over this. And it's like, you don't understand that there was there was a good Asian population that settled in Mississippi during those times. And indigenous people have always been there, and they're like y'all said, they're spiritually connected to the land. So like Jay said, if anybody would know that there's something going on that's supernatural, it would be the indigenous individuals to that land.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I've only seen it once. I went today, but I'm definitely going to go again to see it twice to see what I missed.
Andrea said she saw it twice. So
yeah.
You got to see it twice. I saw it once, but I'm like, every time I talk to somebody, they're like, yeah, I saw it at least twice. I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm telling you, you're going to pick up. Now, obviously, you're going to have some anticipation about certain things, but you're going to pick up on stuff. You'll be like, man, I didn't even notice that the first time,
Mm-hmm.
What you had said, RJ, that was one of those things where I you already see that one video. I've seen a couple videos where, people started doing that, trying to do that whole, they're going to split hairs about, oh, there they go, trying to add this or try to add that. No. That's not what was added. This was part of the history. This was part of it. The lore is what was added. The Jim Crow South was the Jim Crow South. So that's what it was. They're telling you what it was. So don't sit and try to make it seem like we're trying to make it speak for things that are happening today. No, we're speaking for things that have already happened, that have continued to happen.
Did you notice that there were two sides of the street, a black side and a white side, and that's why there were two shops? Like she had to walk across the street from the black shop to the white shop. You know, it's like there's so much of that stuff that's forgotten, for lack of a better term.
Just like even the train station, you saw the signs when they were walking. You could see the signs. Now it was still more of a like, well, everybody has their thing, but they know everybody got to stand on a certain platform and get in somewhere, certain places. That's why when they walked, they just kept going because they knew where they needed to go.
Yeah,
you know, and so that was a whole nother thing where a lot of times those are things that people who aren't marginalized or don't know anything or don't care to know anything about the history, they're gonna speed bump over it. Oh, well, they just added that. No, that's not what they just added. These are real things. They're books with those same signs and things that are in there. And I loved though how they actually were able to show though that they knew money talked though. Money still talked.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't necessarily, hey, he the homie. He know them boys paid him. So he was like, yeah, he dapped them up, but he knows it's about that money. He know they're not coming around unless they're talking about money. Exactly. Now that would be the most outstanding, I think, movie is seeing them with Al Capone in Chicago.
Yeah.
Right before this movie happens. Because they did some folks dirty before they left Chicago.
Someone was saying that they love the fact that they put them in the middle of that or whatever, because it coincides with the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And so they played two different rival gangs or whatever
against each other.
And that's what caused the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. That's what I said. There's so much history and lore like within this universe, and that's why I want this to continue. Like Dr. J said, like we manifesting some kind of other property to come through for this because it was that enjoyable. And so I want to mention this too, about the vampire. Did you notice that he just wasn't after blood too? He was also after memories and culture. He wasn't trying to eat. He wanted his memory.
But he said it. He said it when he looked up and he said, "I've never heard this before. I don't know what this is, but I know I need it. I need this." And even when he told them, he said, you know, yeah, y'all think that, you know, well, at the very end when he told them, you think this is new. That's the same thing that person told me. They indoctrinated us with the same thing. You know, so he was really giving them, you know, real insight on what was going on, but at the same time, he was still doing it for selfish reasons. You know?
And I really I do like what you mentioned earlier, just as far as like how they paid homage to the indentured servants, because again, we need to be specific when we talk about specifics, because again, Irish people in general, even people from Europe, they come from this concept that they think they were just slaves, like all across the world. And it's like, that's not how that term goes, especially when it comes to systematic racism or anything like that.
Yeah.
This wasn't just the focus is too much on race for people who don't want to see this movie or think it's just about whatever, just about that one thing. It's about paying homage to each culture that Ryan, that you mentioned, Gerald, that he painted this art piece of different angles of the story, because again, this takes place in the Jim Crow era, and there's a lot of things after the Great Migration, after the Great Depression, so much history that happened within this. So when it comes to indentured servants, that's what Ryan was paying homage to, was how Irish people, had to pay back, you know, people in Africa for taking over certain colonies and coming to this land, because that's what they had to do. They had to pay back the people for coming to Africa. And that's how, you know, this all flows into the history of what it led up to into the 30s. So that part is a really important piece of how Ryan just did a good job of just coming at every single angle and then putting it all together.
I liked when they were outside and they were all doing like little Irish jig dance or whatever, and they were
Correct.
all like in a circle. That to me, I probably would have like I would have dooed it on myself. I'm not gonna lie. Like if I would have looked out there and I would have saw that, that would have scared the crap out of me. Like that would have been it for me. I'm clocking out. We're done here. Like,
You're like, I need
we're
to take
done.
hold on.
Yeah,
Like what the boy
like what?
Justin Slim say, hey, do y'all smell something? Hey, he kept it real because I ain't gonna lie, I was like, he was obviously kind of the comic relief, and I think that was the one part that kind of threw people off, that they felt like, well, why is he sacrificing himself? And he had literally said it already, like, boy, I will get in front of the devil to stop him from getting to you. Yeah, he basically told Sammy that, but in a nutshell, because he felt like at least I saw it as him saying, you could be the lineage that I never really, was able to. I played the music, but his liver probably was dead, like just floating around his body, dead, because bro he was locked in when he was locked in when what's called stack when he popped that beer open.
Oh yeah.
Well, he was like, whoa, wait, hey, what you got there?
And he was like,
boy,
shoot, boy.
He drank that beer and was like, oh my God.
I do want to talk about one character that kind of really grinded my gears, which was what was her? Grace, the Asian lady. Now, she really irritated me in the end, because if you wanted to go out there and sacrifice yourself or, save your kid or your husband, that's fine. Why are you inviting every single vampire within an earshot into this place? Like, it pissed me off. I felt like at that point, I would have just pushed her out. You want to go out there so bad? Fine, go.
I feel like she was desperate. But I mean, I'm with you. I didn't. It's not that I hated that part. I mean, something had to happen. It was going to happen either way. But I was mad. I was like, dang, why did you do that? And then only for her to like last like 2 seconds out there.
She went out like a G though.
And
she went out like a G.
She did.
She went out like a G.
I think she was desperate, so desperate.
She was, but she was, and I think it made her mad because Remy started like taunting her, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he was like, like, hey, and when he started speaking to her in Chinese, that's when she lost it. Really, yeah. That's really when she lost. I mean, she was mad because she did go at it with Smoke and was like, yo, like, you wanted to do this and you want to do this, and now you want me to now just stand by. Like, no, we need to get this figured out.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have a plan at that point. He was like,
there definitely was no plan.
Nah.
That's what irritated me. Like, you gave everybody time to craft weapons, but y'all didn't have no plan. Like if they were planning on sneaking out the back door, they could have did that. Like, they could have said, okay, well, you want to be the sacrificial lamb? Well, you go ahead and invite them in. We're going to sneak out the back, and we're going to figure this out. Like, since you want to die so bad, go ahead and die.
I'm with you, RJ.
They're ready to sacrifice everybody.
So Addison said she was so ready to sacrifice everybody. I can respect that opinion. I don't know that that's what she was going for, though. I think it was the fact that, because she had said it right before to Stack. I mean, she had basically said to Smoke, like, what are we gonna do? Like, we need to do something. And just sitting back, I don't know that it was about sacrificing everybody. It was about taking some action, though.
I think it was, because she was so built up in her emotions that she just, because her child, he threatened her child. And on top of that, I mean, when you're in that moment, I think that, something she felt like something had to happen.
Yeah.
And
but she had to. That's the thing, though. Like, I agree with the sentiment that she just didn't care. She was ready to sacrifice anyone because it was for her family. It was a very selfish move. That she wasn't thinking about nothing else but her family, her daughter, and rightfully so. That's your child,
Right.
But I also feel like her actions were incredibly selfish. She was not trying to get. She didn't even have a plan. Like once they got in the door, like everything she did was off of instinct.
She literally almost lit that Molotov cocktail before the doors even opened.
She lit it before the doors opened.
No, I'm talking about when he stopped her at first. But she actually was about to light it as she walked. She went around the table the second time and grabbed it. First time it was like he was like, "Wait, whoa, what you doing?" And she was like, "We gotta do something," you know.
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of scared when she was holding it lit. I was like, "Are you going to throw it?"
And Remy just kind of knocked that mug to the side, like, "All right, next."
You know, people do desperate things, but I do agree with RJ. I still think it was, to an extent, a little selfish though, because I mean, there's still other people that are involved, and it could have went a different way. But again, I mean, that was the whole. I think that's what made the movie exciting as well, because it's like, oh snap, like they're coming, like we gotta scramble, no plan. It was so unpredictable, and I thought it was great, honestly, that part.
So here's the question. Hold on, Dr. J, because I'm forget since we're already talking about this scene. Where all the extra damn people come from?
Oh yeah, we talked about that.
They was in the barn. They was in the juke joint.
Sir, it was 6 people. It was like 7 people. They never showed another person anywhere. And then when them vampires busted in there, it was random people getting jumped on. Random people they weren't really fighting.
Okay.
Yes.
So you're talking about the people that were already in the barn, not the vampires.
No, not the vampires. Like once they came in,
it was only 7
it was 7.
So more people died than 7.
Where was all these people?
Because they all left, right?
No, it was smoke. It was smoke. It was
smoke.
Slim. Annie,
Pearline, the
Asian
Pearline.
Did you say Sammy?
No, I didn't say Sammy. Yeah, Sammy.
It was 7 of them. It was 7 because people were saying that they represented the 7 deadly sins. I didn't see that.
Who was the 7th person?
It was 7 people.
Oh,
so
okay.
Where did the other people come from?
No idea. That's what I'm saying. That's on. I remember only 6, but I could be off by 1. I know they accidentally put the one dude outside, but he was done for after that because he was the dude that got his face slashed.
No,
I think he just passed out.
Yeah,
before he could get out.
Yeah,
because they thought. Because I know they thought he got bit.
But
I know what you're talking about, Gerald.
Where did they come? Because they kicked They said the party's over. Y'all have to go home. Everybody left and got in the car except for those 7 people.
Well, yeah, and everybody that left got turned because they was the ones out there dancing.
Yeah,
so who was in there with them? Because
there was majority of them, not necessarily all of them. Yeah,
because Gerald's talking about a scene where when they come in, there's 2 guys that get taken out.
Yeah,
but it's not any of the main 7 characters yet. So 2 people like go down. So that's like they're like extras that were in the room or something. And
that's
it's like
okay. That was probably my only critique. I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Because I was made aware of it and then I watched for it the second time.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I must have missed something. And so when I watched it, I definitely watched it the second time, but I didn't count. I didn't, because I was trying to make mental notes of it when I was, seeing it, but it still felt the same. I was like, okay, it was extra people in here. Were they hiding the whole time? And we just didn't, I was like, okay, I would have stayed hidden if I was hidden the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, Dr. J, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry, that threw me off. It still throws me off. Now you're gonna be looking for it when you go watch it again.
I am. I'm like, well, what I was going to mention was how we didn't touch on the relationship between Stack and Mary, and y'all got no excitement for Mary like y'all did.
No, I think what it was is she was just the main thing was she was just in love with the dude, and he was like, look, he was trying to protect her. I don't think he was just trying to have no illicit relationship and that's it. I think the reality was he was just trying to let her live her life. That's why he hooked her up with her husband and all that stuff. But You know, he
She
was fine
lived
with
as a
the
white
queen.
passing woman, a white passing black woman. She lived white, and I think he didn't really want to interfere with that part of her life because had they found out that she messed with black people
They'd have both
or
been
that she
dead.
was black, her whole life would have been different. She would have lost everything. They would have killed her. They would have killed her if they found that was a black woman. They would have killed her. So he was protecting her by like not dealing with her in a sense.
Yeah.
And I mean, they
What
said it.
up?
They said it in so many ways, even though he was pretty harsh about it. But you know, they said it
Very
in so
harsh.
many ways, and I
Very
think
harsh.
the reality of it was just him trying to, you know, keep being locked into the idea of like, no, we need to move on. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, we love the movie. We love the universe. We love the lore. So you get one pick. Do you want a sequel, a prequel, or a spinoff?
Prequel. I don't want a sequel. Not yet.
Spinoff.
You only get one.
Spinoff.
I want a sequel to add it to the Sinners verse. I want a sequel.
I want a prequel because I want to see the indigenous people and what they kind of deal with in terms of like the supernatural and what they know about those vampires.
I'll argue with you offline on that one.
I feel like I feel like there's some lore to that though, RJ, that they can add if they did a prequel.
Yeah, so especially with like the Appalachians and stuff like that. They go up there and see what about that stuff. I want to see a prequel.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I've been good, man. Hope you've been doing well. Thank you for stopping in. Make sure to like. But yeah, I definitely want a prequel. So now that we did that, give me a rating 1 to 10 before we get out of here.
12.
We're about a 27 out of 10.
All right, I'm keeping normal. I'm gonna say 9.6 only because of that scene. It just kind of weirded me out. Yeah. But I mean, really, in essence, 10. But that's just my beef. I'll say it 10, really. But
I'll give it like a 10 too. My only critique is that like I wish we'd have got more magical elements besides her blowing on a bone and some keys and on the table. I love magic, so I feel like vampires are magic, and I wish we would have got a little bit more magic in it. But other than that, like 10 out of 10 across the board. I loved it. I can't wait.
You want to hurt people's brains. Start talking about mixing the idea because some people's brains can't process vampire stuff and magic stuff that at the same and
that's understandable, but I can, so I want it.
They would have had to add another 45 minutes to the movie to add everything else in.
Yeah, because I think they tried to keep it in a practical sense of just that one character knowing all this stuff and just kind of Cliff's noting all that stuff to everybody, just like when they had to eat the garlic, because that was a hilarious scene to me, honestly.
Yeah, that was funny, yeah. So, but otherwise, an enjoyable movie, 10s across the board. Guys, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We also will be doing The Last of Us weekly here on the Silver Site at 7:45 Eastern Standard Time. Come join us, have a good conversation, have a few laughs. Very casual, good time. We just break down every single episode of season 2 of The Last of Us and just, talk about it amongst friends. With that being said, don't forget to follow the panel. Links are down in the descriptions. Oh my God. Links are down in the description. Yeah, they're there below. Click that, follow us, interact. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk all things Last of Us Season 2. Later days.